Alright, this demonstration is going to show you how to attach a snap. It's important to know that snaps come in quite a variety of sizes. So if you have a big snap, just make sure that you properly identify where it's going to be on your underlap as well, or on your underlap as well as your overlap, and make sure that they line up accordingly. So if you're using a big snap, that's not a problem at all. If you're using like a very small snap like I am, that's totally cool too. The key is just making sure that you have the proper side of the snap on the proper underlap or overlap. So what we want to do is we want to take the ball side. If you look at the snap from a side, there's going to be a ball, and then there's going to be kind of a divot to where that ball fits that will attach to the other side. So you want to attach the snap in that has the ball on it to the underside of the overlap. I know that's a little tricky. And it's also just important to know that snap fasteners overall typically have less holding power than the hooks and eyes. So you need to think about kind of what your end product is going to be, how much stress might be on these fastener units, and then just make sure that you choose accordingly. So I think typically you'll find some snaps like this on, and I don't know if you'll find the metal ones, you might find the plastic kind on baby wear, so like infants and stuff like that, because it's easy to unsnap and get them in and out of their garments to like change their diapers and stuff like that. So these are just they're just different. It's just another option of how you can fasten a garment, or the entry or exit of a garment. So again, we're going to take the ball section of the snap and we're going to position it. I'm going to go ahead and position mine about a 1/4 inch away. The ball section is going to be about a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fold on the underlap. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to again slide my needle underneath, and I have my needle knotted, so make sure that you do that. And then I've just tried to center this in this last quadrant that I have here. Then I'm going to go ahead and pick up my sample, and this is like, I think this might, I don't even know where this snap came from. I just dug it out of my like random sewing drawers, but it's pretty tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it up again. I think that's a little bit more helpful, and I already have that identified where it's going to sit and the distance away. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that last pin out, and then I'm just going to whip stitch this on. Hopefully I don't poke my finger. Alright. And because this is fairly dainty, I think I really only need about 2 whip stitches per connecting point. Now I have 4 holes like around the distance of my snap, so I'm not going. So just be aware that there might be 3, there might be 4. Just make sure that you catch all of yours as you go around the circle. Now when you go and attach these, you always want to make sure that you pull your thread to the underside when you do like your large jumps between the holes that you need to connect those two. So I went and just moved it around. I'm going counterclockwise. You can go whichever way you want to go. And then we're just whip stitching this in, this next hole. And again, I'm just going to do 2. And then I'm going to go on to the next one. So I'm going down into the fabric. I'm going to go ahead and pull that through. And I'm going to rotate my fabric around just so I can hold it a little bit better. And I'm going to come up through that 3rd hole that I'm working on, and then just whip stitch that twice. 2 little whip stitches. Yep. One of my threads is a little bit longer than the other, so I just need to give them a pull until they all go in place. There we go. And then I'm going to go down on the back side of this fabric, and then come up on that last 4th hole and do 2 whip stitches there. Alright, then when I'm done, I'm just going to go down to put my needle down to the underside of my fabric and then flip it over and tie a knot. Grab a pin to make sure that that's tight. Okay. I'm going to trim off those tails and go ahead and knot this thread again. It might be enough to get me through the second half of my snap. Okay. Then what you're going to want to do, again, is just make sure that everything is secure. No threads are on the top side, which they shouldn't be. And then your construction packet shows how you can, or it talks about how what you can do is you can put chalk or some sort of marking on the ball part of the snap, and then line up your edges and gently press your snap down into the opposite fabric, and then a chalk mark should appear on the top side of the underlap. But I don't have any chalk at home, unfortunately. All my stuff is at school in the kit. So what I've done is I've just lined up my top and bottom, and then I've gently again, how I do my markings is I'm gently just going to go to the underside and mark right where that ball touches the fabric. So if you don't have any chalk, there's always ways around how you can complete your project. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm placing the snap so that the concave section where this ball will fit into is facing up towards me, and I'm just going to center that concave section just right above my markings. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my needle up through just right above the top of my marking, because I know that from where the holes are on my snap, that it's directly above that concave hole. So then I'm just going to slip it through one of those holes and kind of hold this bottom part of the snap in my hand while I go ahead and whip stitch this into place. And now it's a little bit thicker than the other hooks or the eyes have been that we've been whip stitching into place. So if you can't really whip stitch as one complete movement, go ahead and do your up and down stitch, where you're making one motion upward to the top side of the fabric, and then one motion downward to get to the bottom side of the fabric. I'm going to go ahead and take this pin out so I can just see that my thread's about going to catch on it, because I already have everything marked. And then while I'm down there, I'm just going to go ahead and pull my put my needle up to the left side of my marking. Again, I'm kind of working in a counterclockwise motion. I'm going to go ahead and flip that over to catch it and pull it up. And I'm just wrapping that around. Coming back up through that hole, going back down around it. And I'm going to go ahead and move to my third hole on the bottom. Just continue going around this area. Come back up through that hole. Go back down. And I want you guys to know that what I'm doing on this left hand here is I'm really feeling where I'm going to try to guide that needle through. So I'm going towards my final hole here. I'm just going to move my sampler around as I need it, and I'm just going to do two stitches here to hold this in place. And then I'm going to knot it on the back side. Alright, then I'm just going to go to the back side here. Just going to grab a little bite of fabric, because my threads are fairly tight. All my stitches are fairly tight. And then I'm just going to loop that through my lasso and make a knot, and then I'm going to do that for my last one here, using my pin to help guide that knot down to the bottom area. Make that knot tight, and then I can trim up my thread tails. Alright, and that is your snap. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one last check, make sure everything's lined up just as it should be. Do my skirt hook, which is a little bit tighter, and then snap that last one in. Alright, now as you can see, my bottom edge is pretty closely lined up with that 1 1/4 marking, as well as my top. And again, I do have quite a bit of unevenness just because of the way that the different hooks and eyes and snap lay. So my snap's the most flattest when I feel across it. So just know that, you know, when you actually go to probably place in a skirt hook, for example, you're only going to be placing in one. You're not placing in a series, you know, unless that is a design decision that you choose to make later on in your advanced courses. So, alright, just make sure that you label all of these different fastening exercises on your sample and place it in your binder.